Hello, hello, and hello. Sam Tolbert, Sound of Joy Music Services. And we're coming in to you live this time. Excuse the back there behind me. I'm down in my basement studio, so I didn't put up all the things I normally do to cover up, you might say. Just want to have a opportunity to do another live stream with my viewers. You have been, all of you that have been supporting my site, have been very the word I want. I always try to find the correct word. You give me, you make me feel like what I'm doing is being effective when I see your comments and your request, especially my viewer request. You'll be calling for songs that I haven't played in years, and you sort of take me back to the time as a young musician when I had to learn those songs by ear and with no one to help me show me the intro, how these chords are breaking down, and how easily it is now that when I go back to some of those older songs and I just it clicks, it dives right in. All right, this is the chord that I spent I won't say hours, but several minutes trying to figure out what is this chord in this part of the song. And when I rehear the song again, it's like it's automatic. Boom. So you help me to relive some of my earlier years as a musician when you ask for certain songs. I'm just checking my um, stream, make sure everything is okay, and I want to type in some things so that I know that who's here visiting with me. I have two screens going, and I'm moving things around to see which is the best one to put to. So there's no real songs. There's no real what can I say lesson plan, but just open talk for those that are perhaps have ended their morning responsibilities. I know a lot of musicians are playing in three or four different ministries throughout the day, so this stream will stay up for those that will come and see the replay. But if anyone is available now, of course, let me know that you're here. We have a communication and we can talk. You can ask me questions, and we can just about cover anything topic I cover that I am qualified to talk about. I do use YouTube as my window into the world, you might say. So I look at everything that's happening around the world, looking to see where, if there's any turmoil, trouble, tribulation, or depression from events, can the music that I provide, if they have availability to hear it, help to ease some of that. So you see that I've been running, I think, for about the last month and a half, my series on is it jazz or is it gospel. It's not that I'm trying to, uh, what's the word I want to use, dilute the strength of gospel songs, but for musicians, especially myself, a younger musician, they always told me you can't play worldly music in church. So I was tossed in between when I had to learn a song. Can I put this seventh chord at this part of? Can I use a minor six in the morning hymn? Can I do that? As a musician, I struggled with young musician. I don't struggle with it now, but as a young musician, I didn't want to play a chord that someone in the audience might come back to me at the end of the service and saying, "I heard what you played there." So I began to develop chords around chords. If a hymn had four-part harmony, I would space out my music to match that four-part harmony. And in the interlude, a breath mark, throw a chord in there real quick and then come right out of it. Just as a, not really rebellion, but because I wanted to hear, can I fit that chord in there? And throughout the years, the more and more I kept doing that, the more and more I would hear congregants come to me. "Oh, I enjoyed the way you played that song. You really touched me." And I says, "Okay, what did I do with that song?" "Oh, yeah, I added this, I added that, I added this." And when they sung it around the third time, which is usually the chorus, I added a little more, and then put a nice uh, outro on it. You know, songs have an intro. You play the song, and then at the end, you give it what they call the the gospel cadence, which is like a jazz run all the on the way down, and then you add a little bit of a run at the end. Make sure I didn't miss anyone. I'm also watching the stream on my iPad because there's a 30-second delay, so I want to make sure that I don't miss anyone. But those are the things that, as a young musician, um, as younger musicians now are coming into the scene, they never had, they don't have that environment. I'll put it like that, to where they're questioned from the congregation, sometimes from the pulpit. What are you playing? That doesn't sound quote unquote church music. Now anything pretty much goes as long as it helps to keep the service moving. You have a lot of musicians that will play talk music, which I was not a part of that era when talk music was had become the thing to do so that the service doesn't have a lot of dead space. Generally, when I was in the services in my day, it moved quickly. It moved from one thing to the next thing, and the music was that break in between talking and conversation. You usually had the choir march in, you had the morning prayer, then you had the announcements. Well, this music was when they marched in. Morning prayer, there was no music. The announcement, there was no music. And then the choir had their first selection, which was usually a hymn. After that, someone get up and they would welcome the visitors, and a conversation with no music during that time, back in my day. And then from there, you would go into the offertory. Well, welcome gospel music for life. I had some of that, but I was more one to try not to do that. I learned better on later on, though. A lot of it's about motives. Well, the older ministers, those who were brought up in a certain doctrinal way, they're like the head they were the gatekeepers of the music department. You may have had a person who was the music head, but they also had to report to the pastor, and if you played something that the minister felt was inappropriate, they went to that person or they came directly to you. But usually somebody from the congregation. Now I'm saying to myself, well, how do you know jazz chords? Well, if you ever went to their house, you may find they have stacks and stacks of jazz albums. So if you started playing, uh, what is one of those jazz tunes? Cool Jerk. Dun, 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 da, da, da. Somebody will say, whoa, I know what you're playing. Or if you were playing, what is it? Da 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 bum 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 bum. What was that song? I heard it in my head, and so you kind of understood that you were being listened to more than just by the minister, but by congregants who kind of frowned on it. The older women, of course, older mothers of the church. By old, they're in their 70s. If it didn't sound like um, a song that they came up with, it was worldly music. But in time, and that's what one thing that time does. I think the term is time brings about a change, and I always say I have no problem with change as long as it's correct change. The music began to become more prominent in the life of the church, to where your largest congregation came when your youth choir was singing, because they weren't singing hymns and anthems. They were allowed to touch on some of the gospel music. And when the ministers saw that the offering plate was a lot heavier on those days because of the size of his congregation, they became a lot more lenient as to, okay, so you can go ahead and play those Hawkins songs, and go ahead and play those Crouch songs, and go ahead and play those Orlando Draper songs, and go ahead and play come what's that song we did? Um, if you confess the call him up, go ahead and play call him up. Because when you got to just can't stop praising his name, your congregation is up singing with you, and usually the offertory followed the hot song. Times changed, but it was correct change, because you, as a musician, began to expand your palette of music, and then I was able to unleash all of those chords that I've been holding on to from my earlier days of being a instrumentalist in a jazz band where a lot of the songs we learned had that big band sound. I had those big band chords in my head. I practiced at home and learned how to articulate them in music, but because of that look, like that look, I had to hold them back until, as they say, they open up the floodgates. Um, but thank you, Gospel Music for Life, for coming in and letting me know that you're here. I believe we have 5 viewers according to my connection here. You're welcome to come in and make any comments or have any questions. I want to try something new here. There is a way for me to advertise the products on my site. Let me see if this works. Let's bring out let's bring out this. Let's see if that'll come up in the chat. I'm watching to see if this comes out. It says pin product. Let's try and pin it. See what happens. Oh, I see. That's where it's pinned at. Okay. So of these are products which are on my site. Pick a product to talk about. Let's see. Can I pin this one too? Will it pin to both of them? Okay, pin them one at a time. Add a message. They just added this feature on my stream. So let's see. Okay, it does work. So I'll leave that one up there. It's kind of like this. This is my logoed pewter cup. I've been using this extensively for the past month now, where I can fill it full of ice, fill it with my favorite beverage. And yes, I am a water drinker, so it's not always soda pop, but it is water. And filled full of ice, it'll keep that ice in there for pretty near 6 hours. And whatever beverage is in it, excuse me, I want to sneeze now. I don't want to sneeze. It'll keep that beverage cold. So I've been testing it out to make sure that it is what it says it does. Holds hot, cold beverages, washes very easily, and it's become my best friend when I'm working down here in the in my basement studio. I don't have to run upstairs to uh, get a cold beverage. I just take something I got warmed that may be nearby, pop it in there, and it's cold in a matter of seconds, and then I can enjoy it. So this is a new thing for me using this feature. Let's see, let's unpin that product. Yeah, okay, and there it goes. So back to our regularly scheduled stream. So again, I don't have a lot of these streams where I get to talk with those who actually support my site. I'm not locked myself into a regular stream day. I know I watch a lot of streams on YouTube from a lot of other YouTubers, and when the guys who in my environment teaching music have their live stream, I try to catch them because I want to learn. I'm always in a learning phase. What is it that they're doing that they can draw 13, 14, 50, sometimes 100 people into their live stream? Because we all have our own style of music. Their styles are more modernized to the songs of the day. My style is definitely, I won't call it the OG or the old guy style because I never adopted an old guy style. My style moved with the times of the music that was coming out. If it was hymns, Then I played hymns with a non-traditional big band sound on the bottom. But when it's morphed into the contemporary, the Hawkins and the Crouches and Thomas Whitfields and to Kirk Franklin, to John P. Key, to in my area Timothy Wright, the Institutional Church, Butch Haywood, whatever song I had to morph into, in other words, learn, my style changed so that I sounded like the music that they presented. Now, could I sound like Thomas Whitfield in all of his playing? No, but if it's on an album, I match that. When Richard Smallwood entered the scene, and I got to hear that classical piano gospel sound, which was the first time I ever heard that in a church, then I dropped all that other learning I was doing, and I wanted to now morph into what is this new sound. When you hear me play the piano, you'll hear probably 50% of Richard Smallwood chords because I enjoy that classical sound that you can morph into a melody that makes you just sit up and appreciate the music. Now, if it's done in a church setting, and and like a congregational song, then I'll switch back to the that big band movement sound. But depending upon the mode of service, the mode of song that I'm on, then I like to be able to match that, so that if uh, the writer of a song or the composer was herself, sitting in the audience, she'll go, "He played it right. He played it right." So what I do on this page, this YouTube channel, is I give you 101 basic beginner chords that every musician who's in this arena should know. I shouldn't have to tell you this is a C, this is a D, this is the E flat. You should know that already. I shouldn't have to tell you this is a C chord, this is an F chord, this is a G chord. You should know that already. I shouldn't have to tell you this is the major scale in this key, this is the major scale in that key. That should be already a part of your regular routine whenever you sit down. That's what you're working on. But when you say, I have a song I'm having an issue with learning the intro to, that's where I want to be. That's the spot I want to be in, based upon the song, of course. If it's a very intricate opening, as I had in one of my requests, even I struggled with it because I'd never heard the song before, and those guys just made it in that song. There's too much timing. I think it was also in G flat. I pretty much gave up on it because something when you're going to get that much involved, then that's by the hour. I'll put it like that. That means you want me to spend 3 hours, 4 hours just learning the intro, and then you're going to compensate me to show you and break it down like that. So I said, let me just give you this much from a basic to intermediate standpoint, and then we'll move on to the next video. But I that's what I look to do, to provide an online service to the musician who's in between finding where they are musically and where they want to go next. I'm that bridge to, hey Siobhan, welcome. I'm that bridge for you to get to the other music learning sites that the Sean. Let me just give a shout out to the other musician sites, because those guys do a tremendous job. When I'm looking at their videos, I want to be able to call them out correctly, because I'm also a subscriber to their site. Let me just find them. Piano with Johnny. That's for me. That's for learning uh, jazz. Sean Wilson piano, and to CD Dub does a tremendous job creating tracks. Let me just scrolling down all of them that are on my page here. I'm trying to find them. Why can't I find them? I've got so many subscriptions. That's why I try to go everywhere. Dan Keen Music, Savior B, who's over in Africa. He has a very tremendous following. Canaro Music. Let's see, who else do I have on my subscriptions? Of course, HearAndPlay.com. I've been with them since their very beginning. And I have a story about hereandday.com that I want to share because it's always I always like to be able to share that story. There's gospel producers. That's John Mike, tremendous musician himself, engineer, mix engineer, who has helped me in my deciding on what kind of cameras I should have, what kind of audio I should have. Gospel musicians, piano note, uh, just looking at all the piano downloads, just looking at all the ones that sites Dominic Johnson, who has her site now. Rodney East, tremendous musician. I always learn something when I go to his site. His Temple Music Academy, DPL Music. Oh, John Michael has his own channel. He has two channels. Let's see. Yellow Chops, who I watched him when he was doing his thing. Music Man Dre, I think he was the drummer. Gospel Progressions. These are all the music sites that I am subscribed to, that I learn whenever I go to their page. There's another guy, Emmanuel, somebody that I'm trying to figure out where I don't see his page there. Miller Music. Just looking at all the ones that AG Praise, the Hammond Man, Ezra Buford. I think, yeah, there should have been some other ones in there. But just to let you know that I am very appreciative of all the other sites. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Someone have come in. Music is all you need. How are you, Mr. Say? Oh, from France. Wonderful. I wish my French was good. I learned it in public school. Bonjour, I believe. I believe that is the correct opening. Can you put these channels? Can you put these channels, please? Okay, I got it correct. I didn't fail French in public school. Spanish I didn't do too well with, but French I didn't fail. Can I put these channels, please? You want to know who are these channels that I'm talking about? Because they are. I can remember the early days of my being on the internet. Excuse me, being on the internet. The early days of the AOL dial-up days. Uh, let's see. Who can I? I'm looking at Sean Wilson now. I'll give you his. I'll post his page. Let's see. Here we go. Again, I got no problem sharing the other pages that give you great, great music content, training content. As I say, I want to be that bridge that takes you to these guys. And Rodney East is another one. Do do. There's a place called Pretty Simple Piano. I'm surprised why I don't see his subscription on my list. There's Rodney East. And let's give you, I believe it's Pretty Simple Music, if I remember right. Here we go, Pretty Simple Music. Oh, that's why I didn't show up on my list. I didn't subscribe to him. Why wouldn't I? I watch his stuff also. I'll give you those three, and then I'll drop Here and Play because I'm going to tell you my story about hereandplay.com. Nothing bad. It's just funny. pull up Hear and Play. Who I am also subscribed to. Okay, so those sites will spark your imagination in this thing we call music. Um, I did not have the access like the musicians of this generation have. We had maybe visiting musicians would come and visit our church as I was a youngster, and they wouldn't share chords. They would either turn the organ off or they would stop playing when I would come by. And even though my father was a church musician, I couldn't hear what he was doing because it sounded very bland to me. To him, he was doing what he could do, but to me, because I was in an environment of the big band sound and movement and classical music along with big band music, that's what I wanted to be able to feel. So when I could hear a musician sit, can you redo this video for us, please? A video where you explain what it is, what to work on every day. It would be better to play without the pedal. Playing what to work on every day would be better to play without the pedal. Well, the pedal, I think, is when I'm holding chords to get to the next chord. That's a technique which I'm going to have to figure out. And thank you for that question. I'm going to have to figure out how to do a video on when and when not to use the pedal. In fact, am I set up to do that? Let me just look at my scenes. Okay, this one does not show the pedal. Can I show the pedal if I did this? That may be something to work on. The use of the pedal, because that allows you to keep a chord holding, giving your hands a chance to get to the next chord, and then you release it and you play your next chord. It's a technique that I learned from hearing other people use it. There was no book that I could read to teach me how to use the pedal, especially for a keyboard. But I will keep that in mind. Just want to make sure I got your question correct. Can you redo this video for us, please? I'm not sure you mean the one I'm doing right now, but I may cover the pedal use on this video. I used to practice without the pedal at times to connect my chords better part because it did not have an organ at home. Yeah, that pedal use is for a piano player, is especially gospel piano player. Your hands are in constant motion every time. An organist can hold one chord, and that chord won't stop playing until he lets go. A piano player has to now release that chord and hit it again just to get that same sound and that same volume. And when they're ready to switch to another chord, so there's no dead space, you have to use the pedal to be that bridge to the next chord. And I may just demonstrate that before I get into let me give you my hear and play experience. Back in 2000, I think, I was on the internet. I had my computer, and I was on the internet using the AOL dial-up days. And I think it was just me, God's Gospel, and another site on the internet that was actually promoting MIDI files to help teach musicians how to play. Now, MIDI files, musical interface data, musical MDI. I want to say what the correct word for MIDI. What does it stand for? The definition. I should know this. I want to say it correctly. Well, you can't find word MIDI definition. Musical interface, digital interface. Musical instrument, digital interface. Okay. Say that 100 times. So I'd gotten into doing MIDI music with Cakewalk. Can you give me your email? Sure, I can do that. Let me just type this in. Nope, that's the wrong one. That's the correct one. One, two, three. So I got into doing MIDI music, and I was using Cakewalk 12 tone. I installed it on my computer, and I was able to take my keyboard and make. Oh, you're welcome. Music is all you need. And I was able to make MIDI files of how I like to play certain songs. So I began to just flood the internet with MIDI files. In fact, I still have some of the original MIDI files that I did. To hear them back again, I go, wow, I was really rushing that out there because it was too fast, too slow, chords all bad. But it was an avenue for me to be able to put out there the type of music I like to play and the type of music I'd like to teach. Emphasis on the word teach or instruct for those who don't like the word teach from an older guy. Instructing. So I would see God's Gospel site pick up on my MIDI files. And they would give me recognition. Oh, this MIDI file created by Sam Talbot. He posted this file. And for every, he had them all alphabetized. He had all, you would look at all the different, from letter A, B, C, D. Every song that I posted, you saw my name there with that MIDI. I said, oh, okay. Here's a guy who's coming to my site to see the MIDIs that I'm placing on my AOL page, and he's developed a page on his site so people can reference what songs can, what hymns, what spirituals, what gospel songs they can do, so they can now download MIDI. There was a Van Basco karaoke program that you could download, which allowed you to take that MIDI and a virtual keyboard would pop up. You could change the key, you could slow it down, and you could watch the chords that I was playing for any MIDI that I put out there. So I said, wow, what a great idea. A virtual piano showing the exact chords that I'm playing that anybody anywhere in the world can use to learn how to put together these songs that I'm playing and see the intro, see the intricate movement, slow it down, see each note one at a time, separated from left and right hand. So here I am getting all excited. So what did that do? I put more MIDIs out there. But I still would search the internet to see, is there anyone else offering music lessons as I was trying to get started in doing it on the internet, along with working a day job. Lo and behold, I run into a site called hearandplay.com. When I immediately went to the page, there was music playing in the background. And my ears said, that's me. That's one of my MIDIs playing in the background. And it played another song. I said, that's me. That's another one of my MIDIs playing in the background. It went to a third song. I said, wait a minute. And I was reading the site, oh, hearandplay.com. If you take lessons from us, you're going to be able to play music like this. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's my music playing in the background. So, of course, I didn't sign up for the site because I didn't need to sign up. But I sent an email because you can know there was an email. Click here if you want to chat with us. So I said, hey. So I sent an email. I said, hey, you got a great site here. I like the work that you're doing. If you'd like any more of my MIDIs, let me know. So I get the email right back. Oh, Mr. Talbot, I'm so sorry. I did not mean any disrespect. I said, look, I says, I appreciate you and your product that you're putting out there. It's much better. It's much polished. It is more put together. You have a 300-page workbook. I create my own pages where I'm breaking it down, but you've got it all put together professionally, I have no problem with you using my MIDIs. If you would like some more of them, it's okay. I have no problem sharing with you because your product and your presentation is much better than anything that I could do. And I even became an actual affiliate with them so that I was marketing their products on my webpage. Not in competition, but as a, hey, check out this workbook he has because he covers soup to nuts 300 pages. And I'll get you when you've gotten past his 300 pages. Come back to me and I'll teach you how you can play the song um, Can't Nobody Do Me Like Jesus in a gospel style. Because his workbook won't teach you that, but his workbook will take you through. This is a scale, this is a chord, this is this, this is that. Wonderful. Many years later, again, many years later, I'm watching HGTV and I'm watching this young man, or older man on HGTV, buy his first home for 1.5 million dollars. And who it is, I'm not gonna give his name, but it is the owner of HearAndPlay.com because his business had so expanded from when it started back in the AOL dial-up days. And I didn't feel bad, but I thought it was funny that when he was beginning his project and his beginning web pages, in the background was MIDI files I had posted for free promoting take the course and you will sound like this. And I always laugh at that when I ever do talk about that. Again, no shade on him. He was at that time a young marketing college student who was learning the skills of marketing. He did what he was supposed to do: create a product and market it. And I still keep up with his site because he's had some tremendous gifted musicians come through there, guys who I would never have come through here in my basement. But it is to say that this music training instructional thing does work. Where I've had maybe, oh, if I could number them, maybe 3 or 4 thousand watch my videos and purchase, not purchase, but well, I actually did purchase. I used to make VHS videotapes. That's why it's hard to say, and DVD videotapes of songs. He had hundreds of thousands of followers and supporters to help get him to where he is musically. And I'm thankful because, again, I had a day job, so it wasn't my full-time job doing this. But it did not deter me from continuing to still share with the musicians. Now, we're going back 20 years now, 22 years now, year 22, 2022. So, my hat's off to him. And he was able to, I've watched him grow, watched him start his family, watched him provide for his family, and provide for other musicians who have come through his vision. A lot of the stuff I see now, I had the same ideas but never accomplished. I have to say, back then I didn't think it was good enough. Well, I always knew I wanted to share with musicians. As I say, my history of not having accomplished musicians share with me, I wanted to get to a point with what I'm doing now where I can show everything I can do, slow it down, and talk intelligently as to what I was doing. The software that I'm currently using now, this Cordy app. Oh, didn't turn the keyboard on. This Cordy app, which allows me to go into a key and just change keys at will, and then the keyboard is not on, so I can't show you all that. And was not around back then. The Van Basco was, which allowed people to see the notes but not maybe see the names of the chords, but to see the notes was a good training tool. I believe, I want to get his name correctly. I'll say Jay Hartwell out of Florida. He came out of that era when everyone was getting into creating products. He put out his own version of I think it was MIDI keyboards, and well, I meant Reverend Dillard earlier. Oh, okay. And of course, Hearing Blake came out with their song Robot, which kind of did the same thing. It broke down the songs and put the chords there so that you could learn from MIDI files. So this era that I participated in, getting fresh on the internet when everyone didn't have it. Now it's impossible to find anyone who doesn't have access either through their phone or through some cable setup for high speed. We can now actually do live videos like this. I envisioned what I'm doing right now back in my days when I worked for IBM and we began to create computers. And I saw the first personal computer with software take music from a keyboard and actually put it onto a page. I was able to actually see that. I'm not sure where I was when I actually did that first, where I could visibly see the notes I played show up on an actual computer screen. I said that's where I want to be in my future, creating my own music and then sharing it with the person who maybe can't play by ear but can play by what's written on sheet music. I haven't perfected yet how to play what I play and let a music software transcriber make it look like sense. Still looks like gibberish, but I am going to get there. That's one of the things that I do want to do. Let's see. Not sure who else is in here with me, but I do appreciate the those of you who are. As you can see, I haven't played anything yet. So I just want to be able to have conversation, and I recognize that we people are in their churches or still working, not working, but in their not quite home yet, not online. I want to put another product up. Is this one I want to put up? Let's see, what is this one? Oh yes, this is the one I'm wearing now. Let's take off those words. All right, I'm gonna put that up. That is this shirt, but for the ladies. This is the same shirt that I'm wearing. Might put it on the way. Logo shirt. If you want to be a part of the Sound of Joy delegation, I guess everybody has their own band or their own group. This lets you support the site, and you can walk around with the Sound of Joy Music Services shirt. That's the ladies' version. Let's see, what else do we have? Do. If you want to support the my last album production, that's the what's the album, but music recording. That's the Sound of Joy. Uh, God Still Answers Prayer uh, single. It is available on all of your digital platforms, and I have put together my own CD version of it. Again, when you're the owner of the material, you can create your own CDs. I was creating CDs back in the year 2000 here in my studio of music projects. Let's see. I don't do many anymore because when they started doing MP3s and digital downloads, it was hard to keep producing CDs. But let's see if I can pull some of them out here. Again, this is all conversation, but when I was getting started, these are the CDs that I would create. I'll bring that up. Great gospel hymns and songs. This is the very beginnings. As I got more appropriate, I created this one. Make your melody in your heart. Let's see what else we got here. As I say, I don't market CDs anymore. Still got some of those left. You can see I made a lot of them. Let's see. I don't do the CD thing anymore. great hymn and gospel song. I did that one already. I probably have like 7 of them. Because in the early days, I would create CDs just to have to share with church. There were churches who who did not have a live church musician, and they were using MIDI files. But MIDI files sometimes really don't give you that full sound of a musician. So I would create audio files of what you would normally hear in church. Could not find your single on Apple Music when it came out. It's there. They tell me it's there. I keep so much of my stuff around so I can look at it. I created my first. These gentlemen, one of them has passed away, unfortunately, but they wanted to. They were local church singers, and part of what I wanted to do as a song producer was to find the local church singers and give them their own CD. Hey, Twinny, how you doing? I'll take a look at that song and give them their own local CD for a minimal charge. I'll go in, record them, put the music around them so that they can share with the people or the places they go um, to help pay for the charge I did to create it for them. And I would do the recording of them. I would create create the CD for them. They only did 4 songs. Took the pictures for them and create the jacket on the inside also. This was a memory of their mother and father, I believe. Yeah, mother of their loving parents. So all this was created by me down here in what you're seeing now. It's my basement area. And I have a 5 CD burner, which has been sitting dormant now for the last, since MP3 came out. Let's see, I think that's, the other ones I don't have. As I say, I put a lot of stuff away as I try to keep the area complete. But when I say Sound of Joy Music Services, that's what it is. I envision being a company that would train musicians, that would help support singers, that would create, compose and create newer music, keeping the actual, look at a lot of stuff, keeping the actual nostalgic sound of the early gospel. Well, I made a lot of those CDs of me. As you can see, they didn't really go that well, but that's okay. The fun was in the actual production. Just stack those up here. And be able to teach and to instruct newer musicians that they, in their own setting, now with the advent of, let me see, my newest toy I have here. I love toys. Oops. With the latest toys that you can get, which allow you to hook in keyboards, microphones to your iPhone or to your iPad with software, create this using stuff like this with an iPhone. You can create digital quality, CD quality music. That's what I look to do, not to keep it all to myself. So back to my comments. 20, what up, man? I was trying, going my head on earlier, but do you know I Told the Storm by Greg O. Quinn? No, I don't. Let me just hear what it sounds like, though. I Told the Storm. For copyright reasons, I can't let it be heard. So let's turn my sound down. Let me see what it sounds like. Gotta get past the advertising. You were doing Call Him Up. Did you see my video on Call Him Up? Let's see what it sounds like. I'll turn down my microphone so I don't. All right. So, like all songs, there is a pattern. So that's pretty much what I am getting out of the actual meat of that song. I think I should still be live. Yeah. So yeah, I was able to listen to it. Again, I couldn't let you guys hear it because I'd be infringing on. I'd get one of those copyright. But yeah, once you really want to get into that song, then uh, and as you see, I had that series on is it gospel or is it jazz? There's yes, so many jazz chords in there. The walk up, the uh, let me see. That's the meat of the song. The very beginning, I was listening to the lead part, and of course, those type of songs, you play around what what the lead is going to be doing, but once you get into the actual choir part of the song, you turn around into the actual choir parts of the song, then it just continually keeps going. Then the musicians can pretty much go crazy because they know they're going to be living in that chordal area. In fact, I was talking about using the using the sustain pedal. If you want to just do a now the sustain pedal is actually holding that chord. You see the actual the sustain light up. If you look on the far right corner, far left corner, see that sustain light flashing. That's me pressing on the sustain pedal. Now you're gonna raise your hands to get to the next chord. Raise your hand to get to the next chord. No, I'm just floating around it now, just giving it without listening to all the musicians. Usually, whenever I learn a song, I'll learn the what the musicians are doing, and I'll try to mimic where they place their movement in the song, and then I need to wear these headphones to communicate with you guys, and then I will add whatever nuances I would like to add into the song. But again, that was back in my church musician days when I had a choir. That type of song requires you to have not just a praise team, but an actual choir singing it with a lead that sure enough wants to, as they say, get into her solo or into her lead part. Those kind of songs made musicians want to play. I can hear you doing that xylophone roll you do in certain places, but my mind when I try it. The xylophone roll. Xylophone roll. Is that this? That roll? There's let's pull this product out the way. Can I do that again? Does the xylophone roll, if that's the one he's talking about? Sure. That is something I developed over the years to add a run that wasn't a run. Let's see. Let's go to here. Piano should still be on. All right. Okay, it's still on. Give you a different look at it. There we go. What is that xylophone run? Three, 1, 2, and the fourth finger. And I would just roll down. I roll up, roll down. Let the thumb start it off. Put a little more light on the subject. There we go. Hold sustain. Come on, camera. Back up, please. There we go. I put on my headphones so I can hear what I'm doing. Oh, sorry. I didn't know I had that down. I would do that. Don't know when I started doing that, but then I would use it, especially if I'm in E flat minor. And that's really, again, that's that jazz part of me that says I want to be inventive. There it is. Well, when you was raised up in a Pentecostal church, and the preacher gets to his level of fever, let me see. Mm, it's it's a feeling. It's something that you, as a musician, you reach out into into your into your can of ability, and for that moment, you just pull it out. For that moment, though, where are we at here? Okay, we're good. Still good. Gospel music. Well, I learned a blues lick sort of like that. You know, and as I probably would come under fire from the religious musicians that'll say, "Oh, you can't say is that jazz we're playing?" Yes, I can, because I took courses that gave me what jazz sounds like, and those chords that you're playing in this song are designated jazz chords in a book. I have yet to find a book that designates gospel chords. Now you can go, of course, into your sheet music books, like in hymnal books, and they'll have four-part hymns. They are designated as hymnals because they're not showing you chords. They're showing you vocal placements of notes, four-part harmony, uh, bass, tenor, alto, and soprano in four-part harmony. So you can designate that as a hymnal style. When you begin to add seventh chords, yeah, six chords, seven chords, augmentive chords, diminished chords. Now you're going into the field of jazz. So now you're playing a hymn with jazz chords. Let's see. I start with the G, A sharp, C, and then E sharp, and F for the bass. It really does it. What jazz chords does, it gives you a freedom to make it up as you go. No rules. You're not restricted to sheet music that says this is always going to be a major or a major chord. You want to throw a seventh in that chord, jazz lets you do that. No, but it don't sound right. Yeah, but to someone's ear it does, because when you look in the congregation, there are more people coming in to hear those chords. I'm from that era where first and second Sundays the senior choir sang, and they sung hymns and anthems on first Sunday, and they sung the hymns on second Sunday, and your congregation was sparse. You're good enough, 100 people. But on the third Sunday, when the youth choir sang, and we're doing the latest Hawkins or Andre Crouch song, you were putting seats in the aisle because so many people were coming in. The balcony now was full. What changed? Same church building, same minister preaching the same message, but the style of the vocals changed. They weren't holding sheet music or hymnals. They were actually clapping their hands, stomping their feet as photos. And yes, we couldn't do everything. We got stopped many a times on Sunday morning, by the minister, because that's not the song he wanted to hear. it was too, I'll use the term worldly. And some of those songs I think we did take too much license on playing. But when the, as I say, the offering plate was heavier, where it took them longer than 20 minutes to count the offering, it wasn't counted in just 5 minutes. They didn't have to go around to and ask for more to make up something because they were happy that you needed four people now to carry the pans where before you had two. It became more acceptable to let them children play. And as choirs began to diminish, unfortunately, you no longer had a choir number one, a choir number two, a Zion Gospel Chorus. People became elderly, older, they passed on, and those who were left, I was from the, I'm on the tail end of the baby boomers. I was born in 1956. I think somebody says the baby boomers were up to 1960. So I'm on the tail end of the baby boomers. So I got to watch my brother get whooped, and I didn't do the same thing. So I didn't get whooped. I got whooped for what I did, but I didn't get whooped following what he did. He's older than I am. He has his own style in playing music, and I have mine from the era and the music that was imparted into me in my age group. But we still can play for any church and play any song that we hear. But music became more prominent. I think as you watch because I'm an avid watcher of YouTube presentations from churches and church ministries. So I'm aware of the types and the styles of music that are now prevalent, which is why you see me really push hard on the style of music that was prevalent in my day. Some songs I still can't touch. I never got the beat down from the church mother, but I've seen the unfortunate victims get it. Yeah, that was when you learn something and you just want to get it out. What's that song? I gotta praise, and I gotta let it out. I think that's what they would say. Um, those to listen to the radio to an R&B station and hear some R&B chords. Would that be a problem to do the? Would it be a problem to do the end of the song? I told the storm. I didn't listen to the end. Let me go back. 'Cause I didn't close that page. Let me go back and hear what the end sounds like. Again, I can't let you guys hear it because I've gotten copyright notices when I've done that in the past. So let me take you back to my other page so I can hear what they're doing. There we go. Be right. All right, so yeah, near the end, they go into a round robin of chords. First, they've been in E flat all this time. Then they move to G flat. Mm, mm, mm. Then they move to G flat. Then they went to A flat. The what can I call these chords? Contemporary chords, which are a mixture of jazz. I think we get tired. We get lost trying to define who a chord is, basic, or if we just stay with what it actually sounds like. Well, that's actually after the bridge. Well, that's actually after the bridge. I forgot there was a big one. Yeah, sort of ended up repeated. Did I miss the bridge? Oh, no problem. As I say, music is it's not my life. My life is wherever it is I'm doing. I was fortunate enough at the age of 17 when I graduated high school to get a job offer to work for the IBM Corporation at 17. And I just turned 17 that April and got the offer in June of that same year. And in July, I was hired. So I never got a chance to be a crazy teenager out of high school and just running the world. I had to represent uh, at that time a $4 billion corporation from natural service end. So they trained me as they say, train up a child in the way he should go. Or as a young 17-year-old uh, technician, because my father had his own radio TV repair business. So as I say, I keep them here. I knew how to use this, and I knew what that each of them had a different size for what they do, and I knew what this was and what it was called at seven. There we go. At 17 years old. So when I passed all of their technical tests, they were so surprised that a 17-year-old can take apart something and put it back together and it work. And to me, I says, well, okay, that's the test to get in. Yes. And 48 years later, I retired after 35 with IBM, and then 3 years with another company that bought them out, and another company that bought them out. So music wasn't my life. Music was after I worked, and then I think I got married 4 years after I worked for IBM at 21. Um, if I could go back in time, I would have probably waited till I was 31, but that's okay. I'm still married after 45 years to one woman, the very first woman that I dated. That's who I married. So again, I said this is conversation that I have no problem talking about. It is possible to be with one woman if you know who you are, and if you have a separate bank account. Let her play with the one there, but you have one for yourself. That's how I have all this stuff. I made sure that when I wanted something, I didn't have to ask permission. But that's all part of the the maturing of being an actual man. When you know who you are and what you're capable of, can nobody as I say, if you build yourself up, can nobody take you down. That's why musically, I'm so intent in getting so many chords out there to all the musicians, because musicians are can be very cruel to each other based upon skill set. If you have one musician who has five chords and another musician who has no chords, he's always going to make that musician feel bad by the fact that, well, I got these five chords and they're mine. Me, I will give you 100 chords. Where's my book at? I always pull this out. I always pull out this book. When I purchased this book, as you see, it's falling apart, and I learned how many chords there were in every key. That's just one key, and just 2 pages out of every key. Finger placement, and I says, "Wow, look at all these chords I never knew existed." And I purposely went out to share every chord out there in every key so that no emerging beginner intermediate musician would ever feel ashamed when another musician says, "Well, no, I'm not going to show you what chord that was I played." As you did, Twinny, when you asked me, can you pull up this song and play some of those chords, I had to hear it first, see what key it was in, number one, see what placement of chords were the musicians doing versus what the choir was doing, which is how I always learn a song. And then I saw, well, what's common to these chords back in this song that is relative now? All that goes on in my head while I'm listening. Then I go to the piano and I go, okay, here's the key they're in. As I often say, if you play the scales, every chord is found in the scale. It is which notes you don't play determine what chord that you're hearing. But unless you know all the notes in that scale, at least 2 octaves, you won't know what notes to take out. And then from the bottom to the middle to the top, highest chord, middle chord, bottom chord, omit notes, find the bass chords, then begin to add. Now they're adding this, they're adding this, they're adding that, and they're doing this pattern, they're doing this run. Those are the things I stress to get across to the musicians who were like me in the early days, who really loved music and maybe not have anyone in their local area that would tear apart a song for them to say, "Hey, I hear you struggling with this song. No offense. Play this chord here, and it'll sound like the album." That's what I do. So, and that's what I've been doing since 1992, when there was no internet, and when it was just, I don't think I still have that out. Let me see. I thought I kept that out. No, I don't see it out, but I do have. Did I keep an image of that? I want to be able to show you what I did in 1992. This is all part of the conversation. I thought I kept a copy of that. Did I throw that out? I make images that I share and other things, and then when I'm done with it, I trash it to keep space free on my hard drive. Where is it? Just looking for it now in my file folder where I throw things I don't want to throw away. Okay, that's that. Just looking through there. Yeah, I make noises when I'm looking for something because I'm actually playing a melody in my head. I don't see it. Yeah, I was in a jazz band, so I try to mimic a trumpet player when I play trumpet. I don't see it in here. Oh, where is that? I took an image of a old let me see if I can do this. I want you to see my dirty place. Let you listen to some music. Be right back. Okay, I am back. Um, I'm like old people who don't throw away things that are important to them. I kept a a history of when I started doing this. This is an old case that has all of my beginnings in it. Just to show you, back in 1992, I had a musician's newsletter on paper that I would print up where meeting the needs of today's church musician. This is January 1992. And what would I cover? Organ tips, musician's corner, keyboard review, chord corner, sound of joy classifieds, piano organ corner. And it says, welcome to Sound of Joy Musicians Newsletter. This was a newsletter that I put together myself so that I could help musicians that I did not know. I would mail this to churches, front and back. And this was the January edition. There was one previous to this. This was January of 92 when I first got a printer, which I paid for. And what was I giving out? Let me just want to get that straight. Piano and keyboards. Welcome to Piano and Keyboard Corner. The piano is the most popular sound today in many churches. You will find that all major keyboard manufacturers include various types of piano sounds. There was a chord corner. What did I put in the chord corner? Chords. What did I put in other portions of this? The musical alphabet, theory, scales. You wonder why I talk about scales? I was talking about them in 1992. A major scale is an 8-letter sequence of musical alphabet. These are the things. How to practice. Fingering exercises, chromatic scales, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Major minor chords, chromatic scale, start with bass C, and my chords. This was a newsletter I would mail out to churches to share with church musicians for free. I would not charge. There's some other stuff in here too, from 1991. What's this? Oh, this, okay. And what else did I have in here? I would write sheet music. I'm trying to see the date on it, but the date one. But I would create sheet music, and then I would print it out. I wrote a chant, Bless the Lord. That was my original older Sound of Joy logo. I would send this out to churches to be able to give them an option of songs that they could teach, original songs written. And of course, in the back, I made sure I put Sound of Joy Productions, Bless the Lord, written and composed by Samuel Tolbert, printed by Sound of Joy Productions, which was my company, one of my company names back then. This is probably, which had to be 1992 also, because it's on paper. Well, this is what I was doing in 1992 to help who? Church musicians. Look at some of the stuff I have here. It's a voiceover. I had hired a young lady to do voiceovers for my company, and I wrote a contract sheet so that I would pay her for her services. Again, I never believed in taking advantage of anyone. I always believed in doing what was right. Let's see. Okay, this was my first ad booklet back in 1992, Sound of Joy Music Offerings 1992. That's my old address. You won't find me there anymore. But in there, I talked about who I was, let her know I'm not somebody who's trying to take advantage of you. And let me see. I'll let you see that. I'll read it to you. We provide lead sheet music services. Again, I wanted to be able to help the soloist who can sing but can't play to help create her own sheet, his or her sheet music. Let's see. Let's talk about my services, who I am, what I give. Musicians Newsletter, what you saw there. We're a music services company. That means we are in the business of providing more than just music. We provide copywriting services. I just got my latest copyright in for God Still Answers Prayer. I thought I kept that. Yes, I cleaned up all my files, so I got rid of that too. With Washington, D.C., so I know the process still works. Consulting services in arranging and composing of songs. We can assist you with chording and melody transitions of your original and other types of songs for your choir or group. So I wanted to be a one-stop all music services company back in 1992. Enough of that. Back in 1992, before there was talk of an internet. So I feel comfortable when I share what I do share on the internet with everyone, that I'm not just, the um, tooting my own horn, you might say. Many of my services I did on the internet was free because I wanted to get information into the hands of young musicians or musicians in general who had that desire, burning desire to go forward, but they were stuck. I often would get that musicians say, "Well, I'm stuck. I don't know what to practice." And then I would say, "Okay, have you downloaded my workbook?" And they go, "Well, no." I says, "The reason why you're stuck is because you haven't downloaded my workbook." I'm going to pull that up and share that workbook. It's probably I think it was the 11th generation of the workbook. Let's see which one I want to pull up. Yeah, this one. And I'm going to get off here soon because I know I've been here a while, but I do like to share with everyone. Let's find a blank. Sorry about the silence. I'm actually having to create this page so I can share what my workbook looked like for the new musician. And I will give this course for free on the internet and share this workbook for free. I gotta find it now. Where are you at? You should be here. Boom. There we go. This I've created out of all of the materials that I had, and I would provide it for the music for free. It was a free download on the internet. This was the largest one. This was the last one I did, where I would try to cover keyboard and organ. And as you can see, theory for new musicians, practice for intermediate musicians, techniques for advanced musicians. I didn't want to leave anybody out. I didn't want anybody to feel that I was slighting them, because I wanted musicians, to have the most up-to-date information that the internet could provide. That's an old picture of me. This is, wow, you see 2010, so we're now 12 years? No, 11 years from when this book, no, 12 years from when this book was actually created in 2010. This was the revised version. At that time, you could find me on Facebook. I think MySpace was in there too, yep. And my MySpace page is still active, surprisingly enough. I was curious, yeah, is my MySpace page still there? It's still there. Learn Gospel Music was one of those sites where I would give information to and help musicians on. And of course, YouTube, where you are, Sound of Joy, and my website has long since been gone. But I would open up with a prayer I found on the internet for all musicians to say, if you're going to practice, start with prayer to get your mind ready for what you for learning, not just playing around, not just trying out chords, not just um, having fun, but getting serious about what you're embarking on to provide music for a church ministry, no matter what ministry it is. I didn't just say it's for the black or the African American experience, but any church ministry. And I gave content for the new musician, the guy who's just starting to play in his church and doesn't have a clue what he's doing. The intermediate musician, you've been playing 5 years and I've never played a hymn correctly. Of course, you never heard another musician around you play it correctly. And I gave you some history, some of the things that I did not get as a young musician, I wanted to give out now. And of course, the advanced musicians, the guys who don't need me, but here's some things that I do and I've done in my past that perhaps you've never heard another musician do, because you hang around with guys your own age and not guys who are 20 years or 30 years your elder. And then, of course, everybody gets the chord reference chart. This, of course, can be printed out from this booklet, and I gave you what you get in the book. If you ever watch my hands on the keyboard, let's change this scene. If you ever watch my hands on the keyboard, what you're seeing right there is how my hands are. What you see right there, how my hands are formed. I play like this. I don't do like this. I play like this. Let me see. Developed that speed in playing. Go back to here. I developed that speed in playing by this concept. Having my fingers formed like this and then letting them just drop the fingers down over each note. As you can see, I give you left and right hand the correct fingering in every key so that you could hit it the correct way. If you do it correctly, you can't do it wrong later on in life. What's that? Train up a child in the way they should go. Train up a musician, a new musician, in the way he or she should go. Doesn't mean they won't change, but at least if they get lost, they can come back to the basics. Then I started you off with minor scale practice. A different way of looking at it. Now you see the notes with also the correct fingering that goes over the notes. This was a free course. And then I gave you your first song. And I picked one back for that day. Our God is an Awesome God. He Reigns from Heaven Above was a current song that churches were getting into singing. So I gave you my chording, my way of looking at it, melody, and the chords I use in the song from a teaching standpoint. And again, I give you reasoning, and then I make you look up all the other chords that can be used by finding the names, finding the scales for all of these chords. And, for me, if you paid attention to the pictures, these are the chords that you would find here. I always felt that you've got to give school-like instructions to musicians, because they'll learn it better if they write it down. Not if you show it to them, if they write it down. And then, of course, this is the page or pages where it talks about how you should practice. That's what this section here dealt with, how you should practice. Well, I'm going to bring this session to a close because my wife just came in and made me aware that she has brought in dinner. And I don't want her to get angry with me because I won't get angry back. I just start playing some tune and then she'll get upset. But I appreciate those who have come in. I want to acknowledge those that have participated. Siobhan and Music is All You Need from France. I'll look forward to your email after I go and partake in dinner. Gospel Music for Life. Thank you for your comments. 20, 28. I guess I'm saying that correct. Thank you for your suggested songs to give me a something new, a song I've not played before, but to show you how the concept still works. That if you understand the basic theory of songs, chords, and placement of notes, you'll be able to learn any song in minutes and then master that song with a good hour of practicing, and then you move on to the next song, because you will find that every song follows a pattern. It's just that what notes are they not playing that helps you to learn that song. Thank you all for giving me this time, spending this time with me. It's been an hour and 37 minutes. Oh, no problem, no problem. Again, that is 100%, as I've shown you, why I do this. Back in 1992, when I did not see another musician coming behind me, pushing me off the organ or piano, I said, I've got to put something out there to inspire that next musician who's not behind me currently to catch up and surpass me, as a lot of musicians have. I think I shared on a lot of different sites. When I watch Corey Henry play now, I saw him live. I was in his church when he was playing his Hammond B3 organ in an afternoon service, and I stood there with, like a lot of musicians, going, "Who is this kid reaching three-finger chords and playing bass with his left hand?" I had never seen that at 5 years old. So I saw that genius of a musician at that age and followed him as best I could, because again, he was in Brooklyn, I was in New York. Our churches weren't in the same vicinity, but whenever I had a chance to hear him play at other churches, I certainly enjoyed and watched his growth. I did not have that. I often say I was not a what's the word, prodigy musician. I was one who just loved to be able to emulate musically what I heard in my head, no matter what that song was or tune was. And I was a big watcher of cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons, and movies, television movies, where they would play the theme music to songs, and I wanted to go to the piano and try to figure it out. And because I didn't know what I was doing, I basically messed up on it. But the tune never left here. Now I can sit down and go back to those same tunes and go, okay, this is what they're doing. Bum, bum, dun, 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 bum, bum. I Dream of Jeannie, or the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner. Dun, 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 dun. I can now sit down at the piano and do that. Or the theme to the Drink Panther. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I know where those notes are in any key now. But thank you all for allowing me again into your space. Be blessed. Continue to stay in your music. I'm going to do more of these lives. I'm going to figure out what's a good time to schedule it when I can get the largest audience for no matter whatever time zone. I believe France is where music is all you need is from France. I'm not sure what time it is over there for you, but I'm trying to remember what is the French word for good night. I know bonjour is the greeting. I'll figure it out. I won't look it up though. But thank you all. Again, Sam Tolbert, Sound of Joy Music Services. Make a joyful noise. And whatever you're doing, make a joyful noise and enjoy life. Time for dinner. Take care.